Welcome to 631, where women go to get out of their heads and get moving. This is Missy Cook, and today I am pumped to have Lise Carter with us to explain all about how to become a freelance writer and to build your life around a job that you can do from anywhere in the world. Lise is the resident expert on all things freelance, and she's going to share all of her tips today. Lise, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
I'm super excited to have you here.
I'm really excited too.
What I want to do before we get going today, Lise, is how about if you take a few minutes and explain to everybody who you are and what you do?
So my name is Lise Carter. I'm originally from New Zealand and reside in Australia. I've been in Australia for about 5 years. I started freelance writing in 2012, June 2012, and that's what I've been doing now full-time. Prior to that, I was an administration person, just working an office job in various different industries, and just looking for a change. So decided to do something a little bit outside the box, and wanted to be able to travel and not be tied down to a job, because it's a little annoying to be constantly asking your boss for time off work to travel.
Sure. So you thought, I want to be able to work what I want to be able to work where I want, and you started writing. But how did you fall into that? What made you think that you would be able to have a business from anywhere writing?
Yeah. So I have always been computer literate. So I've always, I loved the internet. I can remember back when I was, I probably would have been about 20, 21 when it was still dial-up. And, I was probably the first person in our family to have a computer, and so all of that. So I've always been online, and probably around 2009, I came across something called the 30-Day Challenge, which is a free program that takes you through 30 days of making your first dollar online. And so I did a couple of years on the 30-Day Challenge, but there were just a few things missing for me. I just didn't make a sort of connection, or didn't feel confident enough to be able to pursue that sort of thing. And until I came across Location Rebel and Sean Ogle's program. So I came across that in August 2011 and just thought, stuff it, I'm going to do this now. Just something about the blueprints that Sean was offering just really connected with me, and one of them was SEO writing. So as soon as I got into Location Rebel, I started the SEO writing blueprint. So all the blueprints are basically online businesses, and it takes you through the steps of how to build each one. So okay. I got started that way. I think I've said somewhere, it was probably the most defining point in my life, joining Location Rebel. Completely changed how my life has taken. It was one of those forks in the road, and it's, had I not found it, I potentially still could be working, in a corporate office for somebody else.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you, excuse me, you joined Location Rebel, and if anyone doesn't know, I'm also a fellow rebel. That's how I met Lise. Yay. So in Location Rebel, Sean has provided all of these great blueprints, which are basically like step-by-step instructions that teach you how to build any sort of online business. And you said the first blueprint that you decided to give a go at was the SEO writing blueprint.
That's correct.
What exactly is SEO writing for anyone who doesn't know?
No, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. So basically what most people, if you're contracted to be an SEO writer and somebody gives you an article, they'll give you a keyword to write the article around. So they'll be wanting to rank for the first page of Google for that keyword. And you've got to provide relevant content with keyword optimization so that you can rank on the first page of Google for that keyword, in its most simplest term.
So SEO is gaming Google.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So
hacking Google.
All right. So you decide to be a Google gamer. And how does somebody become somebody who does that? How do you actually become an SEO writer once you know how to do it?
Once you know how to do it, then you need to find clients. It's people to pay you to do it.
So tell me a little bit about that process. Obviously, you joined Location Rebel, you learned how to be an SEO writer, and then you were like, well, this is great, but I want to make some money. So where the rubber meets the road.
And part of the SEO writing blueprint there, Sean had written down a couple of different options to get started. SEO writing is probably the lowest barrier to entry in terms of starting an online business. So one of the things that he said that is one of the easiest places to start was a site called oDesk, which is an outsourcing site where people can go. So you, as a freelancer, you can go and find jobs, and as an employer or a client, you can post jobs up. And so people can stipulate rates, and you basically put an application forward. You find a job that you like, put your application forward, and you say this is my bid on the job, or this is what my hourly rate is, because there's a couple of different ways that you can get paid. So I did that within 2 weeks. Like, I just hit the ground running when I went into Location Rebel. I just completely absorbed everything that I did, and I'm someone that learns quicker by doing. So I basically read a whole bunch of stuff, and then just said, okay, well, I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring. So I jumped on oDesk, set up my profile, and landed my first client, who paid me $1,000.
Holy cow.
I was pretty happy.
Holy cow. So you joined Location Rebel, and then within 2 weeks, you already had a skill, and someone was willing to pay you $1,000 for it. Oh my gosh. It's such a great story. I love it. And I really love what you said about you're not the type of person to keep learning or to keep reading.
Yes.
Like, you read what you needed to do, and then you said, all right, let's give it a whirl and see what happens.
Yep.
And what happened was $1,000 friggin' dollars in your pocket. So that's pretty sweet.
I was pretty happy. I was just like, okay, well, this is actually serious. I can do something with this. And I made the decision from that point forward to build up my business so that I could quit my job.
Wow. So basically then what happens is you learn how to do this. You set up your profile on oDesk, and so people who want these SEO articles for their websites will hire you to write them for them. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So then tell me, you started doing that, and you made $1,000 within 2 weeks. So then after that, was it all, I can do this is a great thing, and I'm going to quit my job tomorrow, or was there a little bit of hard work involved?
There was a little bit of hard work involved. I mean, I certainly was sitting there going, okay, this is something I can see myself doing. Writing is something that I've always done in my day job, and from an admin perspective, I've always done business writing. So transferring those skills into SEO writing wasn't very hard to do. Like, if you can construct a letter, can construct a report, you can be an SEO writer. If you can write an essay or a speech, anything like that, then you can be an SEO writer. Okay. It's very easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, really anyone with basic English level writing skills can be an SEO writer. You don't have to be a genius, or you don't have to be some sort of marketing guru or anything like that.
Not at all. Not at all. Sorry, you go.
Okay. Do you think that this is something that even a high schooler could do? Yes.
In fact, I think it's probably not with Sean, it would be Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income blog. He has got a couple of kids who have been following him along, and when I say kids, I'm saying 12, 13, 14, who have got their own online businesses in a very similar, like in a writing business. Wow. So it's anybody can do it at whatever age that they can type, basically.
As long as they have the drive and they can type.
That's exactly right.
Okay. So how did you then, you started SEO writing, you made $1,000, you probably had some other clients, but how did you really turn that into a business that would allow you to quit your job?
So there are lots of different things that you can do on oDesk to find the right sort of job and the right sort of client, because like with anything, there are crappy jobs on there and there are crappy clients. So I learned that the hard way. I think probably 2 or 3 months in, I landed another client that was going to pay me $1,000, but because I didn't know any better, the way that their profile was set up, it wasn't complete, and so I didn't get paid because they weren't payment verified. So oDesk doesn't, it's very difficult when you first start out on oDesk to find out all the information that you need. Like, you don't know what you don't know, so you can't ask the questions that you don't know what to ask. You know, there's no quick guide to oDesk. So I didn't know any better, and you should never ever work with a client that's not payment verified, because oDesk cannot take the money out off their credit card or out of their PayPal account to pay you. So unbeknownst to me, I went ahead and did the work, and then, you know, submitted the work, and then the client gone. Bye money.
Oh, that's horrible. It
was, and it was a really hard lesson to learn.
A hard lesson to learn, but luckily you'd already made some money. And yes, there are ways that oDesk, now that you know them, there are ways that oDesk actually protects people like you or writers from being scammed. So you've actually kind of written something up for people, right? To help them not have the same problems that you've had.
I have.
Tell me about your new book.
Sure. So I basically, when I started out on oDesk, there wasn't, like I said, there's no quick guide to oDesk. There is a lot of information. It's very overwhelming. It's, you know, there's so much stuff when you first get in there. You know, you've got to set up your profile. There's tests to take, you know, there's all these feedback and ratings and things like that. And then there's also, you know, just looking for a job, or, you know, identifying when's a good client and when's not a good client. So there's all those sorts of things that were really, you know, it took me, you know, 10 months to figure out, because, you know, within that 10 months I quit my job, but only after I'd gone through all the different issues around, you know, setting up my business on oDesk. So I wanted to be able to help others do the same, not go through 10 months of losing $1,000 and, you know, struggling to find the right jobs and only seeing low paying jobs, because there are a lot of low paying jobs on oDesk, but there's also, you know, really good ongoing projects on there, and it's just knowing how to find them. So that's what my book is about. It's a step-by-step process of how to, you know, basically pimp your profile out to make sure that people can find you. Then it goes through all the different tests that you should take to increase your profile rating, because you've got to think about it from a client point of view. You know, they're looking for something specific when they're going on oDesk. They're not, you know, the jobs that they're putting up are very specific. They're not necessarily looking for a marketing manager, or they're not looking for an admin person. They're looking for someone to write an SEO article on keyword, or they're looking for a web designer, or they're looking for voice talent. You know, they're very specific things that they're looking for. So it's just knowing how to find those sorts of things and matching the tests to the areas that you want to go into. And I think what a lot of people don't understand when they start out on oDesk is the power behind the tests, is that a lot of people, they take time, you know, they're 40 minutes for each test. So, you know, oDesk makes you do, I think it's 4 tests initially, and most people just stop at that. But how can you prove your skill base when you're not meeting someone in person and you're not providing them with certification? They're just taking you at face value. But if you've got a test to back it up that sits on oDesk and oDesk has verified it, then that gives your profile, it's a stronger stand against someone that, might have, say, more experience on oDesk, but doesn't have the proof behind the skills that they're claiming to have. So there's just lots, those are lots of things that are included in my book that take you through those sorts of things.
So after you set up your profile on oDesk and you have launched this business, you decided to write a book to help other people do the same thing. I think it's only fair if we kind of tell people what they can expect if they followed in similar steps as yours. So I know that you're comfortable talking about where you were at financially before you quit and where you're at now. Why don't you tell people a little bit about what they can expect?
Sure. So when I quit my job, I was earning 60,000 Australian, which I believe is about 55,000 American. And within 6 months, I had replaced that income, going full-time. Now, when I say full-time, that does not mean that I'm working 8 hours a day.
Okay.
Far from it. I would probably, at that stage, I was probably only doing sort of 5 to 6 hours a day, and I had Fridays off, so.
Wow. Okay. So now you said that took you 6 months to do?
Yes, yeah. So when I quit my job, I had got my business to a point where I was covering all my living costs and, that sort of stuff. But I'd got to a point where I couldn't juggle both. I couldn't do my full-time job and my part-time job, because that's basically what it was. I couldn't take my business any further unless I got rid of the job, because the job was taking up way too much time. And there's only so much time that you have at the end of the day when you come home from work, and nobody wants to work on the weekend.
Right.
You've got to have time for your family and friends, and you still have to have, it's that work-life balance. So when I got to that sort of point, I just think, now's the time to quit my job and go full-time. And within 6 months of quitting it, I had already replaced my full-time income. So it was phenomenal. And then this year, so I'm coming up 2 years of doing this, I'm shooting for 6 figures.
Wow. Holy cow. So what other trajectory in any other job gives you the ability to make 6 figures after just putting in the work for 2 years?
I don't know.
I don't know of any.
I don't know. Unless you're a CEO. Well, I am a CEO. I'm a CEO of my business.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. So you were able to make about $60,000 a year. I think you said after 6 months you
Yes.
quit. You're making what you were making before your job. And what I love about that story is that you were making that much money before you quit your job, when you had all of your time tied up doing something else.
Yes.
So you absolutely knew that quitting, you were going to be able to make more than you were making in your job.
Yes, and I think that's the key to going out on your own and being a freelancer, is that you are in control of how much you earn. You can scale it up and scale it down. So I don't know anybody that has a job where they can do that. Like you can, I don't know anybody that can turn around and say to the boss, okay, I'm going to work 15 hours today and you're going to pay me this much money.
Right.
If somebody does have that sort of job, stay there.
Right. You're right, though. And I think what I love about what you have done is that you jumped in with both feet. You get started in the SEO writing, but you haven't stayed there. To be clear with everyone, yes, you quit your day job doing this very easy entry-level SEO writing, but when you wanted to make more money, you had to do some other things. So what does that look like? Is that still something that anybody could do, or almost anybody could do?
I think so. I think that when you go into being a freelance person, like you become a freelancer, your skills are scalable. So you learn lots of different skills because you're running your own business, and there's lots of different side things that you can do as a writer. So just being in like an SEO writer doesn't end there. You could go off and be an editor, you could be a copywriter, you could do social media. And social media is exactly where the track that I went down, because I didn't want to have all my eggs in one basket, which is exactly what I was in my job. You know, I had only one source of income, and I didn't want to be in a position where that's all I was relying on. So I wanted to diversify my skill base, and I'm diversifying again this year and looking to do a couple of other things, because I want to get to a point where I've got my fingers in a number of pies, so that if one income stream is down, because things can be seasonal with as it goes with anything. So it's just finding that balance, and social media was just a natural fit for me, because I love technology and I love new apps and I love gadgets. So for me to go into social media, it just made sense. And it's still writing, it's just in shorter form. So Facebook posts, and then you've got Twitter, you've got 140 characters to work with. So it was a natural fit for me. And I think there's a lot of writers that go down the editing track, because editing is such a part of writing as well. So it's for people, it's a natural progression to go from doing the writing to doing the editing. And you could be a content manager. There's just so many different avenues that you can go down to once you've honed the writing skills.
One skill. So you basically, you started with one skill that allowed you to get started, and then you used that as a stepping stone to go into a different writing field, and then a different writing field.
Yep, that's exactly right.
I think another thing that's amazing about what you did, and about freelancing in general, but SEO writing especially, is that you're basically getting paid to teach yourself how to get paid.
That's right. Exactly right.
I mean, I went to college for 4 years and no one ever paid me to do that.
I'm the same. I have 2 degrees and I don't think I've used either of them. So, complete waste of time.
Yeah. That's so fantastic, because and what I really like is not just are you getting paid to learn a skill, but you are getting paid, you're not making beans on the side. You're making a full-time income, learning how to make even more money. And what is so fantastic is that you also don't have to do that. If you had just wanted a part-time job or a half-time job, you could have done that too. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Because I think it's all about choices. So I wanted to, for me, it got to the point at my job. There are a couple of factors that also made me decide to go and do something on my own. I remember having a conversation with my boss, and her and I are very close. She's coming to our wedding in a few weeks, but the conversation went something along the lines of, I'd said to her, I've been here for 2.5 years. I want to progress. I want to move into something else. What else is there for me? And her words were, you are fantastic at what you do. I want you to stay where you are because you make my life easy. And I was just like, that doesn't work for me. Like that doesn't, how does that help me progress? Like I understood where she was coming from. Of course it made things easy for her, super organized, efficient, did everything that needed to be done, and she just came in at the top and did, took the cream off the top type thing. So, a couple of things like that just made me go, you know what, I just want to do something different and do my own thing. So being a freelancer is about having the choices. That doesn't mean that you have to give up your job if you don't want to do that. If you are just looking to make an extra $500 a month, you can totally do that. That's what I'm saying about being a freelancer. You can scale up and scale down. It's entirely up to you how much you earn.
That's so great. So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned since becoming a freelancer?
It has been to make sure that I schedule time in for everything. In the first couple of months, I was easily distracted because I was working from home, and I don't know about anybody else out there, but I can't sit at home if I know there's washing that has to be done, if the dishes need to be washed. Something will pop into my head. I'll be like, I've got to go. This has got to be done, or that's got to be done, or, those sorts of things. So I found myself running around doing other things, and also, my friends and family looked at me like I was just doing this part-time, that it wasn't a full-time thing. So I gave them the illusion that I was super flexible, because they'd say, could you come and do this, Lise, or could you come and do that? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, I can just, I'm flexible, I can do whatever. But I quickly found out that if I didn't schedule my day, then I wasn't going to hit the things that I needed to hit in that day. So I learned to schedule my working time so that at the beginning of each day I can look at my calendar, okay, well, this is the stuff that I have to do, but it's flexible. I can move it around. It's like a jigsaw. So I have everything color-coded so that I can move stuff around as long as I'm hitting sort of 6 or 7 hours, if that's what I need to do. But how that pans out over the day is entirely up to me. So I might do 5 hours in the morning, have the rest of the day off to go hang with my sister, or, go for lunch, or go to the gym, go shopping, whatever. And then I might do another 2 or 3 hours at night. Or I might work from, 6 a.m. in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, and then I don't do anything else for the rest of the day. It's just whatever works for me.
Whatever works for you. So you have a flexible schedule. It's the true meaning of flexible scheduling, I think.
It is.
So basically, you have times or regular times that you usually work, but you don't feel compelled to hold yourself to that strong schedule. If you wake up early and you're ready to work, then you work. Yep. Or if you wake up with a head cold, then you might go back to bed for a couple hours until you feel better and then work.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, that's exactly right. That happened recently. I was sick probably for 2 weeks straight, and the first week I was completely out. So, if it was some tropical flu thing, because we're currently in Thailand, but so I don't know, we both caught some tropical flu thing. It was really, and I never get sick. And I remember waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning going, I feel like crap. And I looked at my calendar and I went, okay, I have got 2 hours of stuff that I have to do. Like, it's for clients, I have to get it done. Did it, and then that was it. The rest of the day I was in bed, and that was that entire week. So my business was still running, but I wasn't at my computer. I was sick in bed. I had my iPhone. If I had to answer an email in between being asleep, then, I could. But how many sick days do you have in a normal job where at a point where your boss is going, okay, you can't take any more time off work. You need to come into work. So
or that you even feel like in your day job, did you ever feel compelled to save those sick days? Like, this was a head cold, so could you have worked? Probably. It would have sucked, but you could have done it. Like, do you remember that dance that you would do in your head at your day job?
I did, and that's exactly right. You'd force yourself to go into work, get to work, do. What would happen is my boss, I did have a really good boss, because she would just take one look at me and go home. What are you doing here? You're just spreading the germs. I don't want you coming into work sick, because I don't want to get sick. That's what she was like. But, in previous jobs, there were definitely, times where I was sick, and I felt that I couldn't actually take the time off, even though you're allocated so many sick days. But I didn't feel like I could actually call up and say, I'm not coming into work. And who is somebody else to actually tell you when you can and can't work if you're sick?
Right.
That's, it's looking at it from a different perspective. And so, if I'm sick, I'm sick. Like, I'm not going to force myself to get out. There is a slight I don't know if there's a downside. Sometimes, though, you can find that your laptop ends up in your bed. So you've got to learn to,
separate.
I try not to take the laptop anywhere near my bed, but it's flexibility. And, my whole thing was that I wanted my time back to myself, and that's what I got when I quit my job. It wasn't so much about the money for me, but it was about the time, about being able to say what I wanted my day to be. So if I wanted to go shopping at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, that's exactly what I could do.
Right. Well, and I think you've mentioned, obviously it wasn't about the money, but the money is a nice little side note, of course. Yeah. But you do get that time. But I think in general, it's just a whole feeling of the control that you have in your life, the freedom that you have over every single one of those areas. Like, you make as much money as you want. You work when you want. You don't have to work when you're sick. All of that together is really probably what makes the whole thing just so great.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So we kind of already talked before that you didn't stick with the SEO writing, that you jumped into some other things. Is that kind of what you do, or what you have done to keep it interesting and to keep yourself motivated to show up to work for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I still write, but it's probably more from a blogging perspective than an SEO writing, although in saying that, SEO underpins everything that you do online. So once you understand SEO and SEO writing really underpins a blog, it underpins a Facebook post, a Twitter tweet, a Pinterest pin, all those sorts of things.
Sure.
It's making sure that the SEO is all part of that. So I wanted to be able to expand my skill base, and that's why I went down the social media path. This year, I'm looking at a couple of different things. I won't say too much yet because there's still a few things that I'm ironing out. But it's just, keeping yourself interested and diverse. For me, anyway, it was all about continuing to diversify my income base so that I'm not just relying on any one client or any one income stream.
And that's great. And just one other thing to mention here before we let people get on with their day is that when you say, I know we've mentioned a couple times that you can work whenever or wherever you want, but you literally mean wherever, right? Like, you were already in Australia, and now you're in Thailand, and I know you have plans to be in Canada later this year. So what's that like, just being able to go wherever you want?
Oh, it's really, that was also one of the things, I don't know where I heard it, and it's now my motto. It's basically, have laptop, will travel. So that's exactly what it is. All I need is my laptop. Everything is stored, and it's not actually even stored in my laptop. Everything I do is in the cloud. So should my laptop decide to kick the bucket, I could just jump on another computer and access everything because it's all in the cloud. But it's just being able to work from anywhere, and sometimes that means working from home. Like, sometimes that means not traveling. You don't have to be somebody that wants to travel. It's just being able to go, okay, well, I want to go and spend 2 or 3 weeks at my parents', or I want to go and spend a week at my sister's, or I want to go and spend some time with friends on the other side of the country. You can just do all that, but all you have to do is take your laptop.
That's so fantastic. And you don't even have to ask your friends to take work off when you come visit them, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
You just say, go to work, I'll do my thing, we'll have dinner later.
So I'll come meet you for lunch, whatever.
That's so awesome. So if anybody wants to get a copy of your brand new book that teaches them all about how to do what you've already done with your business in your life, the book is called The Definitive Guide to Getting Freelance Writing Work on oDesk, and you can pick that up at www.outsourcedfreelancingsuccess.com. And Lise is super generous, and she has a coupon code for all of the listeners. If you want to pick up a copy of that book, use coupon code OGG 2014. That's OGG 2014 for 25% off discount on your book, The Definitive Guide to Getting Freelance Writing Work on oDesk.
Yes.
Lise, if anyone has any questions for you, or if they think that you're just a robot that I hired to do this interview, where can they get a hold of you if they have any questions?
They can get a hold of me at Lise at outsourcedfreelancingsuccess.com.
All right. Well, I am so glad that you decided to do this interview. I really think that people are going to love your story, and I bet you some people are going to be so excited they get your book and get started right away.
I hope so.
All right. Well, you have a great I think it's evening where you are right now, so have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time.
Oh, you are welcome. Talk to you later.